Hey, week 18, last call. That's Dean Blandino. I'm Mike Pereira. A bunch of incredible games, but we got a couple plays to talk about. Hey, let's start with Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Dean. Terrell Edmunds intercepts a pass. Katie Pomp says, Edmunds interception. Steelers have the ball. Looks like a clean pick. Ball comes out when he's trying to get up and run. One of those catch, no catch, interception, no interception plays, Dean. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, this one came down to, it reminded me of the Janet Jackson hit from 1986. Do you remember that, Mike? Remember the title?
I was there.
No, not that. It's not the Super Bowl, not the wardrobe malfunction. This was a comeback hit for Janet Jackson. The name of the song was Control, and that's what this one came down to. Did Edmunds have control of the football? He went to the ground. He kind of had it pinned between his forearms. And again, you can have control with it. You have to have a hand or an arm involved. You can pin it against your body. You can't use your legs only. You got to have a hand or an arm. He was pinning the ball between his forearms. He was trying to get up when he lost the football. It was ruled an interception on the field. All turnovers are automatically reviewed, and they did uphold the call on the field. They didn't overturn it or even really stop the game to go through a formal review. I just felt like, to me, on the field, I would not have had a problem with incomplete because it was questionable as to whether he really did have control. But since they ruled it an interception, I didn't see enough to change it. And again, there's that process. Edmunds goes to the ground. He has to maintain control when he goes to the ground. But then if he starts to get up, now he's completed the catch process. And if he loses it after he begins to get up, that would not make it an incomplete pass. Ultimately, again, it came down to control. I didn't see enough to overturn it.
You know, that kind of brings to mind this whole question we have. When does the process end? There has to be, when you're going to the ground, there has to be an ending point. More so, we talk about rolling over, and then the ball getting knocked out as opposed to starting to get up with the ball. But it is, and I think I like what I saw in that one is I'm kind of like you. I lean more to the incomplete. It felt more incomplete to me, but then again, with the call that was made on the field as an interception, I just don't think that you could overturn it. And to me, they're doing a pretty good job at that, recognizing what was called on the field and not turning it over if there's really a question, which I think is the way it should be.
No question. That's the basic premise of replay. You assume that the ruling on the field is correct, and you have to see clear and obvious evidence to overturn it. And again, it all comes down to the ruling on the field. And I know a lot of people have an issue sometimes when we let plays go. And because now you're starting from a place with a ruling on the field where one team is going to get a benefit because they let a play go. But that's the reality of replay. And that's how on-field officiating and replay kind of have converged. And it's not you do one thing on the field and then replay comes in. It's all connected. And but ultimately, you can't change it if it's not clear and obvious. Let's move on to big game in LA, 49ers and the Rams. And this was for the playoffs. The Rams could have clinched the division with a victory. The 49ers get in with a victory, and there was a big non-call in the game. And people were upset. How does Jimmy G not get a call for that hit to the head? And some people question, because he's Jimmy G. Mike, what did you see? And is Jimmy G not getting the benefit of that call?
Well, hey, listen, I think it's a foul. I mean, and the thing is, it's contact to the head. Now, you know, it has to be forcible contact to the head. That's what the rule states. And to me, this was, I mean, Reeder actually is swiping to try to knock down the ball. And then he goes ahead and hits Jimmy G's helmet. Slow motion distorts it, so it doesn't look like it's as forcible as it was. But Trevor Siemian, he drew a roughing the passer call this week. Also, almost exactly the same. Swat down him in the helmet. It was called, and Jimmy G was upset, and I think he had every right to be upset. I mean, he's so good looking. Maybe they think, well, we're not going to call a penalty. We're going to let him take a shot at him. You know, with those good looks, everybody wants a shot at him. But I will say this, Dean, honestly, that was a great football game. I mean, just to be there, it's kind of my kind of football game. How many times did we go to replay review? None. Did we have an expedited review? One on an interception, and they put him down by contact. How many penalties? I think there was 7. I mean, it was just a pure football game. And the other thing, being in Los Angeles, Dean, you would have thought you were at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. I mean, you looked out at the crowd, and it was a sea of red. I mean, and when the Rams had the ball in a third down situation, the roar of the 49er fans, it was like unbelievable. It truly, to me, Dean, was one of those games that were so exciting. Now you hate to have people talking about the call. It turned into a Jalen Ramsey interception, an incredible interception. So it was a huge play, but 49ers came storming back in the end. And that if you watch that game and it didn't solidify you as a fan of NFL football, I don't think you ever will be.
Well, if you didn't, you could watch that game and then turn around and watch the Raiders and Chargers, the other LA team. And that game was crazy with everybody talking about they're going to kneel for 60 minutes. Come on, people. They're going to play to win the game. And obviously the Raiders, almost. I'm here in Pittsburgh right now. And Steelers fans thought they were celebrating the Steelers getting into the playoffs and had to sweat out a potential nightmare scenario with a tie. But back to Jimmy G. You're looking for that consistency. You mentioned the Trevor Siemian play, which was very similar. And I think that's what, you've heard this when you were at the league office. I heard it as well. Coaches will live with missed calls. They get it, but they're looking for that consistency, and they want it called the same way within each game and from game to game. And when you see two very similar plays called differently, that's a problem, right? And that's where you want to try to get all of your referees or all of your side judges, all of your line judges on the same page. That's always the biggest challenge. You have 17 different crews. You have 125, 126 different officials. How do you get them to see the game the same way? And you would hope that Siemian call gets made, the Jimmy G call gets made, because they're both fouls. And it is, that forcible contact to the head neck area. I know everybody thinks Tom Brady gets favorable calls. Jimmy G spent a bunch of years with Tom Brady. The favorable calls didn't rub off on Jimmy G. But again, didn't impact the outcome of the game. The 49ers came back and won. But what a great game to watch and be there.
But let's talk about your Lions. I mean, your Lions, your Detroit. You've been on the Lions all year long. And it comes to week 18, they're playing the Packers. And I know you're in the studios, you're rooting for them. I know you are. And they beat the Packers. They beat the Packers 37-30, I think the final was. Some great plays in that game. And you had another interesting catch-no-catch situation, right, with Alan Lazard. They throw the ball into the end zone. He kind of stumbles in. Ryan Wing, Fox 11 says, pretty sure Lazard catch was a TD even before the bobble. Right? Is he right, Dean?
Yeah, I thought he was right. And this was interesting. We talked a little bit before about the process of the catch and a player going to the ground. And that process has to end at some point. And this is something we've seen from time to time where the receiver goes to the ground to make the catch, which Lazard was doing. He hits the ground, maintains control. Now he rolls over, and as he's rolling over, the ball pops loose. It does touch the ground and pop loose. He regains control. Well, that process of him after he rolls over, the catch process is over. The rule talks about contacting the ground. He has contacted the ground. He's completed that process, and now as he rolls over, that's not part of the catch process. So any subsequent loss of control, loss of really possession, does not make it incomplete. And I thought that was a good call on the field. Replay confirmed it as a touchdown. And again, if Lazard hits the ground and immediately the ball comes out and hits the ground, it's an incomplete pass. This one, he hit the ground, maintained control, rolled over, then it came out. That's going to be a catch. And just a good example of, that catch process having to end at some point.
There you go, Ryan Wing. You got the answer from Dean Blandino. We are done, Dean, for the regular season, huh? But we'll have last call after the wild card round next week. So looking forward to the playoffs. They're going to be exciting. It's the way the games are going right now. I think we're headed for a fast, fantastic postseason era for the league. That's it. We'll talk to you later.
For the best stories, easy-to-find scores, and comprehensive team pages, plus access to every live Fox Sports game and exclusive bonus cameras, download the all-new Fox Sports app now.